The fog came to Hollow Creek on a Tuesday night, silent and sudden, rolling down from the mountains like a tide of smoke. By morning, the town was swallowed, streets blurred into grey nothingness, houses reduced to faint outlines, the sun a dim smear overhead. At first, the townsfolk thought it was just weather, a quirk of the valley's geography. But then the disappearances began. Maggie Teller, the local diner's cook, noticed it first. She'd been pouring coffee for old man Pritchard when the fog thickened outside, pressing against the windows like a living thing. Pritchard grumbled about his aching knees, paid his tab, and shuffled out into the mist. 10 minutes later, Maggie stepped outside to call him back. His truck was still in the lot, keys dangling in the ignition, but he was gone. No footsteps, no sound, just the fog curling tighter around the diner. By noon, the whispers spread. The schoolteacher, Miss Evans, vanished while walking her class to the bus. A fisherman named Roy disappeared mid-cast on the creek, his rod bobbing in the water, line slack. Phones didn't work, static drowned the lines, and the radio spat garbled noise. Panic crept in, but Sheriff Danvers tried to keep order, gathering folks in the town hall. "Stay together," he barked. "We'll ride this out." That night, the fog grew denser, seeping under doors, pooling in corners like spilled ink. In the hall, people huddled on cots, their breaths visible in the chill. Maggie kept watch by a window, her hands trembling. She saw shapes in the mist, tall, thin, swaying like reeds, before they melted away. Then came the sound, a low hum, rhythmic, like a heartbeat beneath the earth. It rattled her teeth, and when she turned to tell the others, she saw Mrs. Carter was missing. Her cot was empty, her coat still draped over it. The vanishings quickened. One moment, a man was lighting a cigarette, the next, the match fell, still burning, to an empty floor. A child slipped from her mother's arms, leaving only a scream that faded into silence. By dawn, half the town was gone, and the survivors clung to each other, eyes darting to the fog that now pressed against the walls, tendrils snaking through cracks. Sheriff Danvers, pale and unshaven, led a group, Maggie included, to the church, hoping its steeple might pierce the mist. They moved in a tight knot, roped together, but the fog twisted their senses. The hum grew louder, and shadows loomed closer, figures with no faces, their limbs too long, their edges fraying into the mist. One snagged Tommy Reed, the rope snapping as he was yanked upward, his cry cut short. The group stumbled on, reaching the church, only to find its doors locked, the stained glass dark. Inside, they barricaded themselves, but the fog seeped in, cold and wet, carrying whispers, names of the lost, pleading, accusing. Maggie's flashlight caught something on the altar, a journal, its pages yellowed, dated 1893. It told of a mining town, Hollow Creek's ancestor, cursed after digging too deep, unearthing something that bled fog and hungered for souls. The last entry read, "It takes us to feed the void below." The hum became a roar. The walls shook, and the fog solidified into claws, snatching Danvers as he fired his gun into the mist. Maggie ran, the last one left, out into the streets where the shapes waited, hundreds now, their hollow mouths chanting her name. She tripped, and the fog closed over her, a suffocating shroud. Her final thought was of Pritchard's truck, still idling, as the void claimed her. When the fog lifted days later, Hollow Creek was empty. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just silence, and a faint hum lingering in the air. Outsiders who came to investigate found only the journal, its final page freshly inked. Maggie, the mountains loomed, waiting for the next fog to fall.